Welcome back to Weekly EP. My name is Cody Swanson. Each episode, we have on guest musicians from all over the world in different genres who premiere a brand new 10 to 20 minute album written and recorded in just 7 days. If you're interested in doing your own weekly EP, get in touch at weeklyep@gmail.com or on Instagram. This is episode 16 with Elisa Flynn from Brooklyn, New York in the US. Elisa came to the show by way of being friends with our talented guests from episode 8. If you haven't listened to that episode, please do. Elisa was super easy to talk to, and I really dig where she got the inspiration for the songs on her album this week. We talk about Tom Cruise's movie Legend, vampires, Kate Bush trying to write slightly less depressing songs, and we wonder if the beats that come with GarageBand should at this point just be considered fair use. As always, we'll do a short intro, listen to the new record in full, and then dive into the creative process. But first, here's a taste of that record. All right. Well, first of all, welcome, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Day 8 million of the plague. I'm doing all right.
Yeah. It's still pretty weird in New York, huh?
It is. I mean, we're in phase 1 now of opening, and I've been noticing a drop-off in people caring about what's going on. So I actually did something really neurotic yesterday, and I counted how many people I saw and how many were not wearing masks. And it was very frightening. I came up with a 43% of people not wearing masks out of a pretty large, almost 300 people. And it's...
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Gotta get serious, people.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar here, but Berlin is doing, for some reason, very well. So it's still annoying and unnerving, but it's not necessarily going to mean anything, but who knows? Mm-hmm. So we'll just kind of dive right into the early basic questions. I don't know if you've heard any of the episodes, but...
I've listened to several, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you know the format then. Mm-hmm. To start it off then, what is your name?
I am Elisa Flynn.
All right, Elisa. And then do you play under a name for your music projects, or is it just under your own name?
Most of it is just under my own name. I started doing something recently. I have like a DJ name for the occasional project that I just do on my 404. So that is a separate DJ name, but everything else is under Elisa Flynn.
Okay, cool. Right on. And where in the world did you make this record?
I made this record in Brooklyn, New York, in the Crown Heights neighborhood in my apartment.
Nice. That's a cool neighborhood. I think Crown Heights had just started becoming cool when I moved away like 3 or 4 years ago.
I mean, the good thing about Crown Heights where I live is this is going to sound so ridiculous, but it has stayed true to itself in a lot of ways. So it's still a lot of small businesses, and I live in the Caribbean side. For people who don't know, Crown Heights is traditionally half Caribbean and half Hasidic Jewish. So I live on the Caribbean side, and it's still pretty heavily Caribbean here, which is great. You know, I'm a visitor, I'm a resident, but you know.
My first job in New York in 2009 was doing door-to-door political canvassing. Mm-hmm. And we spent a couple days in Crown Heights, and it's a very interesting neighborhood for that reason. There's a lot of beautiful old buildings.
Yes.
In many cases have kind of fallen into strange disrepair. Epic, grand apartment buildings, but the front door doesn't have a lock that works. You just push it open. But also just a beautiful neighborhood and a lot of amazing food places and stuff. So I'm glad to hear that a number of those have still survived. Mm-hmm. Why did you decide to do one of these weekly EPs?
Well, I am, like many people, unemployed for the duration of this pandemic event. Mm-hmm. And one night I was on social media and I saw that my very dear old friend, Jose Dalehart, and his partner, Aubin Renee, had made a weekly EP, and I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is great. This idea is amazing. And so I instantly wanted to do it.
Okay, awesome. You are the second person that has done one of these now because of them. So I think that's really pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And compared to the music that you normally put out, would you say that this is pretty similar to that, or is it kind of a different style?
I think this is beginning to go in my new style. I've done the gamut. I've been playing music for a very long time, and I've done from punk rock to indie rock to, I had an Americana period, a full-on acoustic period. And then I got very into electronic music a few years ago. So I've been starting very slowly to combine electronic with guitar-based stuff. And I feel like this EP is far more veering towards the electronic, but in a minimalistic way. So it's kind of the direction I wanted to go, and I leapt into it.
Okay, cool. That's great. It's always exciting to hear when one of these is pushing a combination of different styles into a new territory or something like that. So nice. Then the last question before we get into the record itself is, of course, the silly question. And so the silly question for you today is, if you could add an extra name onto your already normal name, so if you have a first, middle, and last name, and you could add a fourth one, where would you put it and what would it be?
Well, I only have two names. I don't even have a middle name. And I guess I would add it on the end, and it would probably have something to do with my wolf fixation, which might be kind of dull, but I might just add wolf or something like that. The story of my last name is so weird. It's a whole other story itself, but it's not even my real name. And it's just the name that my dad wound up using. It's very complicated, but I would drop that name completely, actually. And I would be Wolf or something like that.
Okay, so your full name would be then
Flynn Wolf.
Elisa Flynn Wolf. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it kind of
goes. Okay, so and then the record is called 83.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to introduce it in any way or say anything about it before we dive into it, or?
Sure. So when I wrote to you and you said, yeah, let's do this. And I said, okay, great. And I wanted to very much follow the rules. And I had to start with something totally fresh and new to do this EP about in 7 days. And I was sitting around going, what could I do? I need a focus. I need a theme or something which will help me write more quickly. And I had been listening a lot to early electronic music, but also early Cure. I was listening to Pornography a whole bunch, and to the album Blue Sunshine, which was by The Glove, which was a side project by Robert Smith of The Cure and Steve Severin of Susie and the Banshees. And so those things are from 1983. And then I watched The Hunger, also from 1983. So I decided that was my topic. So pulling those things together became my quote unquote topic.
That's amazing. So it's just kind of like, you're like kind of looking around, be like, what have I been doing lately? Oh, it's all starting to kind of orbit a certain theme. That's amazing. Okay, so then this is Elisa Flynn Wolf's 83.
Your dark eyes, your dark eyes, your dark eyes. And the last time Black-haired girl, black-haired girl, black-haired girl. She burns for your dark eyes. She cries for your lost eyes. Black petunia, black petunia, black petunia. Sprouts up alone on the fence, lacy velvet, no recompense. Touch the surface, touch the surface, touch the surface. At the edge of our limitlessness, is there more deep within this mess? Yellow half moon, yellow half moon, yellow half moon, glows in blackness, infinity, and this light glows around me. Peace and darkness, peace and darkness, peace and darkness. At night we walk our drawbridge in. We live in the past, we're ribboned in. reach out my hand. Reach out my hand. Push me away. You just push me away. Now I am crying, and I know I don't need you anymore. I'll walk away. I'll walk away. I don't need you. There's no forever. There's no forever and ever. Tell me again. Tell me again. Tell me again. I walk alone. Up these stairs I walk alone. Into the night I walk alone. Towards forever. My forever. Stay with me. Stay with me until time is over. Be with me as darkness covers us over. Your light is magic. Your light is magic.
and we are back. So let's dive into this. Let's talk about the music. And the first thing I'd want to ask mainly is what instruments or what kind of gear did you use to construct this record?
I kept it to a small group of stuff. 3 of the 4 songs I created by making a beat in my Korg beats, Korg Volca beats. I don't know if Korg Volca series, they're the tiny little synthesizers that Korg put out a few years ago.
Yeah, like the ones that sometimes come with little touchscreen pins.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have a couple of those. Those were my gateway drug into synthesizers, like buying my own. So I still sometimes use the Korg beat. So I use that, and I wrote 3 of the beats. And then I used electric guitar, thumb piano on one song.
Yeah, I had a note about that.
Multiple layers of thumb piano.
For some reason, my ear always perks up with like, oh, that's thumb piano. I have no idea why. Like, I don't even own a thumb piano, but
and just voices. And I used another Korg product, the Korg Nano keyboard. I used that to do a lot of the other playing. I just kept it really simple. I recorded in GarageBand, so I just used that interface and my MIDI keyboard and used effects that were already in GarageBand.
A side note, I've had a synth for a while that's a really awesome one, but it's a kind of a strange one, the OP1. But I just got my first Korg synth, the Mini Logue, and I'm really enjoying it, but I spent like 4 hours today trying to get the drum sequencer on the OP1 to sync to Ableton, and then Ableton to push a MIDI signal to the arpeggiator or a sequencer on the Korg, and it was just a nightmare.
Well, but that also proves to you the thing that I have totally discovered, which is you can't figure it out in 15 minutes. Go straight to YouTube or Reddit, and someone will have typed in this problem and figured this out. And that's how I've learned how to get around a lot of this stuff. There's so many videos, and it's just easier. People have pondered all these questions.
Yeah. But anyway, side to side. Okay, cool. So it's pretty bare bones then, in the sense that it's a couple synths, a thumb piano, and was there any other percussion or anything like that, or was that mostly all? That
was mostly all with the synths. There's one song that has hand claps, and that's really it. Yeah, and the guitar and voices. That's
okay. And you said you used GarageBand to record, and did you use an interface as well?
Well, for the guitar, I just plug it in through an iRig, and I don't really have, I've been functioning on a very bare bones recording setup. I only have one computer, and I really want to get into Ableton, but I'm kind of afraid to overload this one computer. I kind of need, when the world comes back and I actually make money, I would kind of like to buy a dedicated computer that's just all for music, and then I will get Ableton, and then I will just overload that with music. But I've been functioning just like working with GarageBand and stuff, and it's really fine. I mean, it has limitations, but you can add plugins, and for me, it's been a great way to learn. And now I feel like it's time to go on to something more complicated. In the last few years, I've done a lot of home recording, like my album that I put out in 2017, and my last couple EPs. Those were all done at home. Yeah, for budgetary reasons.
Yes, I understand that very well. Oftentimes, I like to think of it as an aesthetic choice, but usually because of budget. If there was a studio that was like, hey, we have this awesome studio, would you like to come and record here for free? I'd be like, yeah, okay. Let me pack my guitar and come on over. But anywho, I'm also interested in how the week kind of unfurled itself. It's a weird way to say it, but in the 7 days, did you write the material first and then record them, or like write and record a song beginning to end and then move on to the next, or how'd that kind of shape up?
Right. In my notebook, I kind of followed along the days so I can actually sort of look back here. I had that basic idea about 1983, and I started very basically making some notes about lyrics and things. And then the first day, I know that I did the 3 tracks on the Korg to start the songs from. And then I think what I did was I wrote and recorded the basics of Black Petunia and started some lyrics for, I think, Magik. And then as the days went on, I just started layering stuff. So when I record, I tend to work on multiple songs at once.
Okay.
So I would record a guitar track here, then I'd go to the next song and I'll record a guitar track there. And eventually started coming back to things and molding them into fuller songs. I have all these crazy notes that I'm looking at in my notebook with like beat marks and like C chord, G chord.
Yeah.
I don't write out music. I write things as tablatures and notes. So I have lots of scribbly things. So I started on Monday morning. As I got to about Friday, pretty much everything had all the tracks. And I spent half of Saturday and the rest of Sunday doing the mix. Certain things like vocals I tend to do last. I'm very particular about it. And actually, after I sent you the whole thing, I did re-record a few things. This will come out on my Bandcamp with just a couple of slight variations in the vocals and stuff that I wanted to improve.
Special edition then.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I spent the last day and a half just working on mix, and mixing is not my forte. Even with all the home recording I've now done in the last few years, I usually wind up handing over the mix to someone else and going, hey, because it's always good to have someone else listen to what you've done and with a clean ear and be objective. But yeah, so layer, like a sculpture. That's how I look at doing songs on the computer. They're sculptures, and then day and a half of mixing.
And the lyrics and stuff like that, do you usually write the full songs and then think about and write the lyrics at the end, or do you have an idea or a temporary track that you lay down?
It depends on the song. Sometimes I'll do temporary tracks that are just like, I might have two sentences and kind of a melody idea. So I'll have this track that's like, with these, I wrote the full lyrics. I had made notes about pornography and stuff. And I pulled actually for Black Petunia, there's actually full-on sentences from a song in pornography, which I won't say. Maybe people will find it. Most of it is, 99% of it is my own. But for this project, I pretty much wrote the lyrics out and then just tweaked them a little. I prefer when I can to do that so that there's a full idea to work from, because then I totally perseverate about how the song is going to sound vocally. And that's like always my biggest anxiety and everything, because I want the vocals to be good really desperately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a fair goal. And so we can just kind of run down the songs as well. So for song 1, Black Petunia, the two main notes I have here, which are not very detailed, I guess, but fun, bouncy, kind of oddly syncopated rhythms, and which were really nice. I just like the way it kind of started off with these very bouncy, odd rhythms. And then I was really curious what was used to make the dirty reverb kind of slap sound in the background.
Dirty reverb slap in the background. Trying to think of what it was. Oh man, I'm pulling a blank here. That might have been some clapping that was heavily modified.
Okay. So you said that some of the lyrics came from a pornography song.
I just pulled some ideas out of one of the songs on pornography and then wrote the song around it. It has literally nothing to do with it. It's just, and pornography is so dark, and these songs are not so dark, but I just took bits and pieces and built a song around that.
What was the inspiration or the thoughts going through your head with this song?
Well, this was partially about the time we're in right now. The Black Petunia on the fence. I've been taking walks every day around my neighborhood, and there's someone who actually is growing Black Petunias, and I thought that was so amazing and wrote about that. This song is kind of, I don't know, it's sort of fanciful. It doesn't really have a deep meaning, honestly.
It kind of gave me Kate Bush vibes almost.
Cool.
But, I also feel weird sometimes being like, it reminds me of this band, because sometimes people might be like, oh, well, fuck.
That's funny, because I just watched some documentary about Kate Bush not too long ago. So yeah, hey, that's cool. That's a cool comparison. I'll take that.
Okay, good. And then so song 2, Hunger.
Ah, yes. This one is literal. This one is about the hunger. The movie The Hunger, like absolutely straight on. I watched The Hunger. I wrote notes about it.
I have not seen that movie. So
oh my God, you have to see it. It's so cheesy. It's David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve as vampires who live in New York City in the early 80s. And Catherine Deneuve is the big vampire. Also, Susan Sarandon is in it, a very young and sort of cherubic Susan Sarandon. You're the third person I've talked to who said, I haven't watched that movie. I'm like, oh my God, you have to see it. It's just ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. So this song is exactly about that movie. The cover of the EP is also based on a still from the movie. The movie has a very particular look. It's very stylized. And it's all about light and dark. And so.
All right. I will watch that movie and then I'll listen to the song again. I was going to ask, like, what is this love that is promised but is never forever? But now I know that it's about vampires. So it makes a lot more sense.
Well, yeah.
Moving on to song 3, Magic. It feels much more lighthearted than the other previous 2 songs, but the lyrics about love that keeps the darkness away, like there's always this reference to the darkness, this kind of everything's going horrible, but this love is good. And I thought that was really interesting. Like it feels very happy, but there's this sinister tone, like, oh, your heart's so good, like makes me so happy, but the dark clouds are covering us all and raining down.
That's my songwriting in a nutshell right there.
So was I guess the main question was, is this kind of related to current events in a sense of the apocalyptic vibe, or is it more just kind of inspired by other things?
It is absolutely related to the current situation. The first line is "Stay with me until time is over." So yeah, it's absolutely like that. I'm a pretty optimistic person, but I tend to write very dark. And I have in the past had people come up to me and be like, wow, your songs are good, but they're so depressing. So sometimes I think about this and I go, okay, I got to write something lighter. I got to bring up the mood. And this was trying to bring up the mood and to allow myself to also mix in silliness with the dark. You know, your life is magic. Your heart is magic. I'm trying to balance or allow myself to have this sort of lighter aspect, if that makes sense.
But yeah, the lines like your heart is magic and stuff definitely kind of gave me like flashes of, I don't know why I associated this with this, but the movie Legend with Tom Cruise about the last unicorn that they have to save and all the creepy little like nymph characters and stuff. It just like feels like the kind of imagery that would be in that, like where a heart is literally magic, you know, or something like that. And I guess also that does have some really dark, sinister undertones once the unicorn horn is cut off and Tim Curry, the devil, becomes more powerful. So yeah, I don't know. Kind of a unintended thematic connection, at least in my mind. I might be the only one, but speaking of light and kind of happier, ending on this instrumental is Little Fishes. I think it's a really kind of interesting upswing, like mood-wise. And so which were the instruments on this one?
This one, I actually didn't use the Korg. I actually pulled a drum beat out of GarageBand. Oh, don't tell them. And technically you're not supposed to do that, but I always look at this as open firmware. I mean, it's like you guys are putting this out there, so we're using your beats. So I think it's that.
I'm sure you're not the first one to do that.
Yeah. Oh, I know. There's keys in there. What else is in there? It's pretty basic. It only has a few tracks. I could not come up with a lyric for it. I thought about it and just nothing was coming to me. And I decided, why not have an instrumental track? And there's a song on the Blue Sunshine album called Orgy. And it's the reoccurring line is "My Little Fishes and Me." So that's why I call it Little Fishes. But it has nothing else to do with that album other than that. I've never actually put out an instrumental track. So I thought, hey, why not?
I mean, sometimes it's kind of nice when there are happy accidents, like you can't think of lyrics or your guitar string breaks or whatever, and you have to like improvise or just kind of change your plans.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? If you could have added lyrics, maybe you wouldn't have liked the song as much. Or who
Yeah.
knows?
It seemed forced. I could not find anything for it, and I decided just let it be. I just joined this band a few months ago, and they had already recorded a whole album, and I was adding guitar bits to it. And I had been struggling for a while with one song and spending great vast amounts of time trying to improve my part. And this time I was like, nope, gotta let it go. Gotta be easy.
So you're adding some parts into something that's been almost fully recorded.
Yeah, it's fully recorded except for me. And so I've just been added onto a few songs. Yeah, it was kind of wacky.
That's cool though that they're like, we want you on the record. I feel like a lot of bands would be like, yeah, you'll be on the next one, maybe.
It was super kind. I was very glad. I mean, I was excited to join this band, and then that they wanted me to be on their album that they already made. It's kind of great.
Cool. I think that's rare, so that's a good start. Hopefully to a fun band.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. So looking back then on the process of making this, in terms of learning to let a song go or not to spend too much time agonizing over it, do you have any reflections or takeaways or final thoughts on the record as a whole?
I was very pleased with what came out. I tend to spend a lot of time for years. Okay, let me backpedal a little. For years, I sat and wrote songs on guitar and then wrote vocals and then figured them out from there. And it was a very basic method. And in the last few years, since I finally discovered electronic music, I've been doing things with more and more and more and more layers. And I tend to spend a lot of time on certain things. I have songs sitting on my computer that I've been messing around with for a year. And it's like, and then I'll let them go for months and then I'll go back to them. It's like, what was this thing that I was working on? What is it? Why did I like it? What does it mean? This was write this stuff, do it, put it out. And I just kept going. Wherever the song led, I went with it. And it was a fantastic project for me in that it took away all that, like letting stuff marinate forever. Sometimes that's just not worth it. When you can put something together quickly and actually have like a valid group of songs. And that was kind of a revelation for me because I've always taken so much longer. And so I really liked it. And I do like it very much. Like I said, I did go back into it after I sent it to you. I made a few tweaks. I'd hear like a little microphone bump or something. I got rid of all those little things. So I just cleaned it up, but I didn't spend hours and hours and hours. I spent a very short period of time just tweaking the mixes and correcting a couple of mistakes just to leave it basically as this process. So it was great for me. I really enjoyed doing it. And thank you for letting me be part of this project because it was super fun for me. It's opened up a new set of ideas for me as far as ways of working.
Right on. Yeah. I mean, of course, but also thank you for being part of it. None of this would work if people weren't willing to jump into it. And I would have to make the record each week. And,
that would be hard.
Yeah, that would be exhausting. I mean, just doing a podcast in general is a lot of work. And I think that would probably drive me a little bit nutty, but also probably my wife as well. So thank you so much for doing it. How do people find more of your stuff online? What is the best path to take, either social media or websites or music platforms or all that kind of stuff?
Well, to hear the vast majority of my music is on my Bandcamp page, which is elisaflynn.bandcamp.com. And I also have a website, elisaflynn.com, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I don't really do much Twittering. My Instagram is a mix of art and music, and Facebook I just sort of add to when things are coming out. I'm trying to wean myself off of Facebook. I can't stand it. But so Bandcamp, Instagram.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I have a very love-hate relationship with Facebook as well. And Twitter, I am trying to use more to promote the podcast and stuff through it, but I just don't like Twitter. I don't know
evil.
why.
It's evil. It's such a great idea, but it's so full of nasty, horrible people. And it just, if you can make yourself just look through things and not read the comments, you can use it, but don't read the comments.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Kill your brain.
The comments are very viciously ignorant.
Yeah.
Anyway, Elisa, thanks so much for doing this and for being part of this whole kind of wacky process.
Thank you very much.
Let's see. So it's a little afternoon there, I guess. So have a wonderful Monday.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Weekly EP. Once again, my name is Cody Swanson. I hope that you enjoyed this week's album and interview. I had a blast chatting about the record, and I think it's great that we're hearing more and more thumb piano in general. I do not know why I think that's great, but it just makes me happy. As of this recording, I also have still not seen The Hunger. I'm sorry, Elisa. I will work to fix that very soon. Please check out more of Elisa's music and art by going to elisaflynn.bandcamp.com or checking her out on Instagram. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and rate it wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps a whole lot. Also, you can follow us on Instagram. You can find all the episodes and more on our website, weeklyep.com. And if you or someone that you know would like to do your own weekly EP, please get in touch. We would love to hear from you.